Humanitarian Foundation even confirmed it was Hamas.
You people disgust me.
They confirmed it was Hamas.
There's no humanity with people like you, Emily. No humanity.
Intentionally lying and blaming the IDF.
I can't even handle your
voice.
voice.
Is the one who is assuring that there's humanitarian aid.
I'm an Armenian.
I know genocide when I see it. That have been distributed already.
11 million.
I had a pretty uneventful morning. Went on Piers Morgan's show today, and Emily Schrader, who I believe is a propagandist on behalf of the Israeli government, triggered me. I have no problem admitting that. Because at this point, after now more than a year and a half of watching Palestinian civilians get bombed to death, starved to death, shelled to death, I literally cannot handle hearing another Israel defender lie to my face about what's really going on. Emily Schrader falls in that category of Israeli propagandists, liars, who provide cover for atrocities, who provide cover for ethnic cleansing, who provide cover for genocide. And so, yeah, I got a little heated, to say the least. So she's allegedly a journalist. Earlier in the debate, she got challenged on the definition of a ceasefire. Let's take a quick look at that.
It is Hamas that has rejected repeated ceasefires.
A pause in fighting is not a ceasefire. A pause in fighting is not a ceasefire. I'm so sick of the rebranding of a ceasefire. A 2-month pause in war is not a ceasefire, period, end of story. Go ahead, Omar.
Then Hamas is welcome. Hamas is welcome to release all of the hostages.
I said what I said.
If you release all of the hostages,
that is not a
then we can talk
ceasefire.
about it.
This idea that you release the hostages and as soon as the hostages are released, Israel will continue their genocide is unacceptable. Unacceptable. But anyway, continue.
You know what else is unacceptable? The fact that there are more than 50 hostages being held by
You're
Hamas
unacceptable.
for more
You're
than 600 days.
Individual.
I fully stand by my statement regarding Emily Schrader being a vile individual. It is atrocious that you still have Israeli captives in the Gaza Strip, that those hostages haven't been released. They should be released. But let's just talk about this notion of a ceasefire that only lasts long enough for Hamas to release the hostages. And then Israel gets to continue the atrocities they've been carrying out in the Gaza Strip. And also, by the way, the West Bank. Let's not forget about the West Bank, which was not governed by Hamas, which has been dealing with the occupation of the Israelis and has dealt with settlers coming in, driving Palestinians out of their legal homes. You guys get the picture. I've talked about this a billion times before. Hamas has agreed to give up governing the Gaza Strip. They have agreed to releasing the remainder of the hostages. All they want is a permanent ceasefire. But Israel doesn't want a permanent ceasefire. Israel wants to steal that land. They want to push out every single Palestinian that survived this war and take over. They want to build settlements. They announced they're going to be building 2 illegal settlements in the West Bank. They want the land. This is the greater Israel project, folks. I mean, they tell you what they want to do. On one hand, you have the Israeli government straight up telling you what they intend to do. And then for whatever reason, clowns like Emily Schrader go on various American news programs to tell us that we didn't just hear what the Israeli government told us and we're not seeing what our own eyes are seeing in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. A ceasefire means the war ends. Israel doesn't want the war to end. And eventually, when they do get what they want, because I think every indication tells me that they're going to get what they want. They're going to take over Gaza. They're going to take over the West Bank. They've tried to annex parts of Lebanon. That didn't work. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to do that in the future. They have annexed parts of Syria already. Greater Israel Project. We all know what this is. I mean, anyone who's paying attention knows what this is. But Emily Schrader thinks I'm an idiot. Emily Schrader thinks it's fun to insult my intelligence. I don't appreciate having my intelligence insulted, okay? Because I don't fall for propagandists and scummy individuals like Emily Schrader. There's more. So Schrader also got challenged on a talking point that she made about a year earlier. She was on Piers Morgan's show with Abby Martin, who's excellent on this topic, on this issue. And she made a declaration about what Israel intends to do and what they will not do And she was wrong about that. So I challenged her. Let's take a look.
You were on this very show a year ago debating Abby Martin. And you said, you fancy yourself a journalist. During that debate, you said that Israel has no interest in occupying Gaza. Israel is now very obviously and overtly claiming they intend to occupy Gaza. Can you now admit to the world that you are incorrect?
No, the situation on the ground changes. And beyond that, this could have been avoided in the first place if the hostages had been released.
She's a vile person, straight up. Like the inability, first of all, the initial lie, let's just call that for what it was a lie. And then the inability to acknowledge reality. Okay, I knew, everyone who's paying attention knew that Israel intended to ethnically cleanse Gaza and occupy the Gaza, just take over the Gaza Strip. Everyone knew. Everyone who's paying attention, who's honest about what they're reading, what they're seeing, they knew. Abby Martin brings it up, calls her out on it, and she says, no, Israel has no interest in occupying Gaza. And then when she gets called out on it, called out on that lie a year later, unable to take responsibility. That's a journalist. That's a journalist. It's incredible. Total and utter clown. So another pro-Israel voice on the panel was Shabbos Kestenbaum. And look, I disagree with Shabbos entirely. He seems less loathsome than Emily Schrader. He tried to have a calm conversation. I was too heated, and I regret that because I could have had an exchange with him that wasn't as heated as it was. He was trying to lower the temperature and make the arguments he was making. I disagree with his arguments. So I want to just kind of get that out of the way. With that in mind, at one point he stated that everyone who cares about Palestinians should be supporting the newly implemented Gaza Humanitarian Foundation or Fund. And here's what happened next.
IDF soldiers are intentionally shooting at and killing desperate Palestinians as they're trying to get humanitarian aid from this Israeli-backed organization, which of course is able to even exist because they defamed UNRWA. They starved Palestinians for months. Shut up. They starved Palestinians for months. And then as the Palestinians are desperate for food, they lure them in with this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation and shoot at them. Upward of 200 people since late May have been shot at and killed by Israeli soldiers.
And that's true. You know, there was also, I mentioned this in the context of this Piers Morgan debate. I mentioned the slaughter of journalists in the Gaza Strip, 232. And that's not according to the, Palestinian Health Ministry or anything like that. That's according to an analysis done by the Costs of War Project at Brown University. 232 journalists killed. They're not allowing international journalists to enter the Gaza Strip, likely because Israel thinks that they can maybe hide their atrocities from the international community. We've been able to see what's been going on in the Gaza Strip from the very beginning, though. And this is why the international community went from having quite a bit of goodwill toward the Israelis to now wanting to prosecute them, the members of the Israeli government, in the International Criminal Court. You can't, on one hand, and this is very important for any Israeli defenders out there, this is very important. You cannot make a succinct argument about Hamas carrying out atrocities when the IDF is doing the same thing and you think it's okay. Because if you say it's okay when it's being done to Palestinians, you're providing justification for Hamas doing it to Israelis. Because guess what? Humans are humans, civilians are civilians, and they must be protected. When you come out here and you make clear that you're supportive of civilians on one side, but you think of civilians as utter animals that should be slaughtered on the other side, you lose the argument, you lose the international community. It's that simple. And that's the thing that disgusts me about this whole situation. What disgusts me about people like Emily Schrader, the lack of humanity, the lack of being able to look at Palestinian children and be disgusted with what the IDF is doing right now. I don't understand. I literally don't understand it. It boggles my mind, absolutely boggles my mind. We'll end with one more clip. I want to thank Piers Morgan for giving me the last word on the panel. And I did switch topics a little bit. It's related, but it's a little bit of a different topic, important for everyone to know about. Let's take a look.
I just want to mention quickly that Emily is one of these Israelis who's going around doing propaganda tours on manufacturing consent for the United States to go to war with Iran on behalf of Israel. We can't make the same mistake that we did in Iraq. We should not go to war in Iran on behalf of Israel. If Israel wants to go to war with Iran, they should do it themselves without our military support, and that includes taxpayer dollars. Go do it on your own. Go ahead and enlist, baby girl. Go do your thing, but leave America out of it. Our men and women in our armed forces shouldn't die on behalf of your country, period.
I don't really understand what her argument was there when she's like, Iran isn't an Arab country. I didn't say it was an Arab country. And what is that argument? The US should not go to war with Iran on behalf of Israel. Now, Israel has bought our politicians, so who knows what the Trump administration is going to decide to do. It will be a disastrous war. It will be a deeply, deeply unpopular war that will define Donald Trump's legacy. I mean, the one thing he cares about the most is himself. So hopefully he's smart enough to understand what an error that would be for his legacy. But I don't really have much hope with any politician, much less Donald Trump at this point. So we'll see what happens. But I want to be clear, for anyone who thinks my behavior and my conduct on Piers Morgan's show today was unprofessional and unbecoming, you are correct. And I am not sorry. I would do it again.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.